Basically, what it would be is it would be camera glasses. So it'd be glasses that have cameras on them. Should be really cool. That's where that rabbit was by Ridgeview. And I vlogged that rabbit on that field. Well, it's actually the rabbit was in a rabbit hole, but it came up and jumped over my car and took off. I was like, "Where you going, rabbit?" Regardless if they use a gun or a milkshake, people they'll do anything to put a wedge before your marriage, okay? They can use a gun or they can use a milkshake, a fast food milkshake. They can do they'll do whatever they can possibly do to destroy your marriage. Until the day they die, until they stop breathing, they will continue to try to put a wedge in your marriage until the day they die, till they stop breathing. And that is true as the sky is blue. It is true. People are the most selfish creatures ever. Isn't that right, Critter the cat? Well, you've been hiding up there for quite a bit of time, haven't you? Let's see, Critter. Well, yeah, it went up a notch. It went up a entire degree Fahrenheit than what it was before. It was 93 degrees. It just went up. It gets hotter as the day progresses because it takes longer for the heat to rise. Well, for the heat to settle into the earth. So as the heat settles into the earth, just like an oven, it'll start to heat up. Rabbit hole. So we're at 94 degrees, and this will stay this way for about 3 months during the day. And it'll get up to 100 degrees. The reason why the heat will kill you is because it drains your energy, for one thing. It can cause dehydration, overheating, and eventually you become dizzy, you get sick to your stomach, You can even pass out from it. The heat is very, very dangerous. It's nothing to mess around with. Probably the most important thing is some type of liquid. This is an energy drink, but water is actually really important because throughout the day, it slowly starts to wear and tear at you and cause you to go completely mad, as in insane, as in completely wacko, as in, I'm an idiot kind of thing, you know? So you want to stay away from the heat as much as possible, and you want to use, you know, different devices. Like I have this thing right here, and you can see the blue on that right there. It's also, it interferes with sometimes with the documentation because, well, any type of extreme weather becomes a complete, you know, issue. But yeah, it can kill. The cold will kill you quicker though. The freezing cold, that kills you about as quick as possible. But the heat does, it does do its damage after time. And then eventually, you know, you have to do something about it. You know, like water is really good. You can find like a pond to jump in, lake, swimming pool. Swimming pool is a really good thing. If you have a swimming pool near you, you can bathe in the swimming pool to keep the heat down, or water, anything like that. You can use the wind. The wind helps too on getting, you know, chilled out. You don't want to stay out in the heat for more than 30 minutes. So you don't want to stay out in the heat for like 2 hours and stuff like that, unless you've got like tons of water or camel pack. Camel pack is basically like a water pack that goes on your back. You can drink water throughout. The military does it a lot. About the same as an economy car, maybe. You know who would probably know about those go-karts is Charlie Manson. His son, Robert, whatever, Eric Roberts, whatever his name is, he probably knows a little bit. He's got like a rear mirror and everything on there. It's pretty cool. But Charlie Manson would probably know a lot about those types of vehicles. Eric Roberts or something like that is his son. He probably knows a whole lot about it because Charlie Manson, the family, Charlie Manson family, they actually use those to transport guns, weaponry, drugs, probably, who knows, all types of trafficking. Charlie Manson was a big trafficker. Of course, he killed Sharon Tate and her friends and then went over to Cielo Drive. Well, no, I'm sorry, the Blanca. Yeah, Blanca. The Sharon Tate place was Cielo Drive, I think. It was 150 Cielo Drive. And then the other one was the Tela Blanca house. And that was not too far. It was on the other side of Sunset Strip and kind of the mountainous ranges or hilltop regions where, you know, those tall hills that look kind of like mountains. I guess they're mountains in a way. More like canyon kind of thing. It was like a canyon thing. The Tonka, anyway, but there was a Cielo Drive. We know that. That's a Sharon Tate. Then there's the other two that got killed too. They didn't have the dune buggies at the time, but they had a car and they parked it backwards. They actually went up backwards through the driveway. They jumped a fence. This guy's an idiot. And they jumped a fence and then they climbed the hill and then they slid down and did their business. And then when they got back in the car, it was already turned around. So they were able to just drive right out of the drive-through. Up there, way up there in the mountainous, well, it's the valley canyon kind of area where Cielo Drive is, and then not too far from that's where the other one was. Leave a comment. See right there, that's a California plate. Something about trailers, California trailer. So Tex Watson was actually a member of a Methodist church. He was actually one of their great members and one of the best students in Copeville High School in Texas. He actually was pretty much an honor student, very highly intelligent. and was considered probably most likely to succeed in his class. Many of the family, Charlie Manson family, they were all churchgoers. Most all of them were raised by the church, and they were pretty much almost kind of like all honor students, especially Tex Watson. He was actually the least likely to ever commit a murder. And he was from Texas too. Farmingsville, and then he went to Copeville. Or Copeville. Please leave a comment on the pronunciation. I want it to be pronounced exactly correct. Copeville is what I'm going with right now. That's my stab at it. The Cielo Drive murderers, Sharon Tate being murdered, and the Lia Banca, leave a comment, being murdered, was an extreme act of rebellion. And some of the people there were highly intelligent, and it was probably the most satanic ritual, a famous satanic ritual that we know of, conducted by the insane mind of the one and only Charles Manson. Another thing about Tex Watson was he was extremely athletic. He was the actual captain of his football team in Copeville, Texas. Tex Watson was very literate. He was the editor of his newspaper at his high school. Tex Watson also attended the University of North Texas and was one of the lead fraternity guys of Phi Kappa, or Pi Kappa. I believe that's pronounced Phi Kappa or Psi Kappa. And leave a comment. He was actually one of the great students of the University of North Texas before he went off and killed a bunch of people in California. Yeah, the fraternity at University of North Texas was Kappa Alpha, so Psi Kappa Alpha. Leave a comment. In 1975, this murderer, similar to St. Paul, or Apostle Paul, who murdered pretty well good people, Tex Watson then became a Christian in 1975, and on a website began to spread the gospel. And as long as he confesses that Jesus Christ is Lord, he will be in paradise. There was something written, "Will you die for me?" And Tex Watson actually professed that Jesus Christ is his Lord, and a chaplain wrote an autobiography, leave a comment, about his life. And in 1978, that autobiography, leave a comment, will be published, or actually, no, it was published. It was published, it's a published book in 1978, talking about his conversion to Christianity. That guy's a butthole right there. Look at this, no blinker. Watch that. No blinker or anything. And I'm going this pretty much the speed limit. But anyway, he did convert over to Christianity. So, like I said, he professes Jesus Christ is Lord. He did kill some people and did a horrible murder. Jesus Christ will forgive him, and he will go straight to heaven and live in paradise. Sharon Tate, same way too. We don't know if she professed it or not. So, in actuality, Sharon Tate could be in hell forever. We don't know. But if Sharon Tate professed that Jesus Christ was her Lord and Savior, then she'll go to heaven. If not, then Sharon Tate will go to hell. It doesn't matter what happened to her. So it's up to Jesus on those things. You got to know him. Apostle Paul, you got to realize Apostle Paul murdered people right there in daylight in front of everybody. He's walking up to people and just murder them with rocks. They threw rocks at people. He held the only protection from Apostle Stephen. So Stephen was very close to Jesus Christ. He took away his coat and made sure that Stephen died. He basically supervised Stephen's death, Apostle Paul. So he made sure that Stephen died. He was the main reason Stephen died. And that's in the Word of God. So he was a surefire destroyer of people, a murderer, the most evil thing that you could possibly think of. That guy's a butthole. And he was so evil that he had to eventually be confronted by the one and only Messiah, who told the apostle, "Why do you persecute me? Why do you persecute me?" And then Apostle Paul got on his knees and professed his love towards Jesus Christ, is now saved and will go to heaven. Most likely, we think. It's a pretty good chance. His head was cut off at the end. But, Tex Watson, about the same. The point to my story about Tex Watson is that it doesn't matter if you're a murderer. You could be like an evil police officer that goes around killing all these people all day long, shooting them at QT and different gas stations, and publicly publicize it in front of everybody, like those police officers that shot that black guy in the South, right there at QT, probably killed him. He's probably dead now. But the police officer could profess. He could get on his knees, throw away his lethal weapon, and profess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Now, if he's going to profess that Jesus Christ is Lord, he's going to have to get away. He's going to have to get rid of his lethal weapon. He's going to have to put down his gun. Because he'll go to hell if he continues killing people. Now, Tex Watson was a murderer, but so are a lot of police officers. But regardless, it doesn't really matter, because Tex Watson professed that Jesus Christ is Lord. So since he professed that, and he believes that Jesus Christ is the Messiah and is the Lord, then Tex Watson will actually go to paradise and become a king citizen. He will be more rich than you throughout all of eternity, even though he lived in a tent on Spawn Ranch. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what you have done. You can get on your knees right now at this moment, profess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and you can live in paradise for all of time. It doesn't matter what you think of me. But if you get this message, that's the point of the message. Your sin does not matter. It's your relationship with the one and only Messiah, Jesus Christ.